All right, so we've determined that we're going to bug out. Um, First thing to do is to have your routes down, have your way out already planned. A couple great things to get are these little cheap uh, fold out Washington state maps or whatever your state you're in. These are plastic laminate. They have all the major areas already done. Let's fold this one right here so you can see. You know, it's not going to be any great detail. It's going to give you all your major highways, all your major roads, alternative roads, things that are blocked, try a different route, sort of thing. These are laminated so you can use grease pencils and stuff on them to mark locations. Although if it's in a tactical bug out situation, I would not recommend putting locations on maps. Don't use proper names for things. Have, they don't have to be anything crazy code words or anything like that, but, don't use, like I said, proper names, places, have different names for things. Whether it's funny little names that your kids will remember, what to call the school instead of calling it school. Now the time is to have the plan. There's no point in having a smoke detector if nobody knows how to get out of the house. Is kind of what I'm going at here. There's no point in having a bug out bag if you don't know where you're going to go when you're bugging out. You can have all the gear in the world. If you don't have somewhere to go, you're going to be in trouble, or a way to get there. And that's what we're going to talk about next is the, we've gone over bug out vehicles. I've mentioned motorcycles as a great transportation. You don't have any pets, you don't have any kids, any wives, any family members that you'll be taking with you, unless we are in a convoy situation, which we'll get into at a later date. If you, with friends and family, like-minded individuals, have the same proper plan, we'll get into it at a later date. But there are advantages to being in a convoy with the community, with other people, instead of being that lone wolf. And we'll kind of revisit that as this goes on. So, you've evaluated why you're leaving, and that has dictated how you're going to leave and where you're going to leave. It's a natural disaster. You're just trying to leave the immediate area. Guess what? So do the other $3.7 million people in that urban environment are all trying to leave through those major arteries of the traffic. You need to have alternatives to that. Alternatives aren't the other ways that you get to work that are just as busy in the morning. Picture your worst, commute to work, and make it so it doesn't ever go away. And that's the scenario you're looking at. So you need to know where you're going, and not just to immediate. Where are you going to go after you get to the mountain pass? Are you going to stay in the mountain pass? Are you going to continue over the east side of your state or wherever you're headed? Do you have friends and family that you're heading to either add to your resources as sort of a pit stop? Is that your destination? These are things you need to understand. Talking about water and how important water is. We're blessed in the Northwest. There's incredible amounts of water everywhere that are easily treated. We talked about floodplains. So every winter when the same rivers flood, you need to know those, especially if they're in your immediate area. Not just for loss of property, but for roadways being closed, if that's the issue. If one river floods and it always closes the same road, if you've lived there enough, you already know. But if you're new to the area, these are things you need to think about. If you're in the city center, in an urban situation, if you're dead center, you've got every option has equal opportunities of succeeding. If you're on the north side of the city, more than likely you'll need to be heading north out of town. You won't want to cross your city center to leave. It makes it a little bit more difficult if you have a specific place you need to get to. And again, I mentioned in the other video, there are 3 separate mountain passes. There are also several main arteries, north and east, south and west, that leave the greater Seattle area. So a survival cache is sort of out of the question for my purpose. A lot of you guys who have specific areas, or there isn't immediate need to take certain highways, if you've always there's only maybe one way out of your town, then I would suggest maybe putting a cache out of town in a place where you know where it's going to be. Again, don't mark it on a map, or at least don't mark it with any proper name. Disguise it, call it a fishing hole, call it something else instead of a survival cache. There's just too many options here, too many roads here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know which scenario would be the best for me. So without putting all my eggs in a basket, without the money resources to put up multiple caches, that's not an option for me, but I bet it would be for a lot of you guys out there. We talked about friends and family. They need to be aware of your plan. As a family, you need to be aware that you're going to meet at the school, or whatever you're going to call the school, and that mom and I are going to pick you up there, etc. Hey, out of the way. So beyond the motorcycle, you have a bicycle that'll get you faster than on foot. Bicycles are also a great transportation in a bug-in situation that we'll discuss in a little bit. I don't have my notes that I had when I did this video before,